The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. That's right. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. That's right. Today is Tuesday, October 31st, and today is National Refornation Day. National Doorbell Day, of course, because all the kids are going to be ringing that doorbell all night. Girl Scout Founders Day. National Magic Day. National Knock Knock Joke Day, I guess, because is that where you get trick-or-treats from Knock Knock Jokes? And it's also National Caramel Apple Day. And of course, that's right, it is none other than Halloween itself. And thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Use that fancy little QR code right there in the top hand corner of your screen to see where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Rumble. And so welcome to everyone joining us from any of those other audiences as well. But kicking it off today, that's right, we have the Halloween special with the dope dad himself. That's right, it is Rico Lamitte. He's a Ninja Turtle today, apparently. He is, I don't know whichever one wears the blue mask. Leonardo, okay.
The best.
All right.
Leonardo.
Really?
He leads.
I know many that would say that he's not the best, but nonetheless. But
If Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not understanding anything that you're saying. But whatever works for you today on this Halloween. We have the dope dad himself who is dressing up as a Ninja Turtle. It is none other than Rico Lamitte.
Good morning, everybody, and to all you ghouls and ghastly gashes out there.
What about all the gaslighters?
All the gaslighters.
All right, there we go.
Happy Halloween. And you know who's not having a happy Halloween? Kiva Confections. Because the Kiva Confections PR team will not be at the company Halloween party tonight. They'll most likely be doing a little damage control out in Northern California's East Bay, because at least one child ingested Kiva's Lost Farm cannabis-infused fruit chews after 4 were found by parents in the candy stash that Alameda Elementary students collected at a PTA trick-or-treating event this weekend. The chews were wrapped in blue paper and allegedly looked similar to Starburst candies. At least 3 families reported finding the Kiva chews among the chocolates and other items from the PTA-sponsored event at Amelia Earhart Elementary on Sunday. District school officials notified police early Monday morning and advised Earhart families to throw out all candy collected at the event. As of midday Monday, there had been no additional reported incidents of anyone ingesting the THC-laden chews, but a district spokesperson said that they're doing everything that they can to keep the kids safe while we investigate what happened. A statement put out by Superintendent Pasquale Scuderi of Alameda Unified School District said this: a student had found in a bag of candy they brought home an edible with about 10 milligrams of THC in it. We do know the student appears to have ingested the candy unintentionally. They intentionally ingested it. I'm pretty sure they meant to eat it. But the family got help, and the student is stabilized and doing well. At least that's the good news. But you know what, y'all? Halloween's always been my favorite holiday because it never pretended to be something that it wasn't. I know with all the costumes and disguises and whatnot, it sounds oxymoronic, but hear me out. Christmas. Jesus was born in the spring. The Feast of Saturnalia had nothing to do with little baby Jesus. Thanksgiving. Americans each year get together with their favorite friends and relatives, eat until they can't walk to celebrate the genocide of 100 million Native Americans. Well, Halloween, you know what you're in for. Assholes and offensive costumes and drunk lingerie clad women and smeared makeup making bad decisions. You know, every year on Halloween, we have the same sort of coded reefer madness PSAs put out by local police departments nationwide about looking out for sketchy marijuana edibles mixed in with kids' candy. Unfortunately, the shit really happened this year because some supervillain of a parent thought it'd be a good idea to do some shit like this and ruin the fun for everybody. Um, you know, my solution for this is tried and true. And I actually went through it this weekend when I was trick or treating with my daughter. You guys got to make sure you check the candy, check those bags before they start eating the candy. It's just common sense as a parent. Make sure that there's nothing in there that is Reese's, Snickers, and weed. Make sure you take all of that stuff and leave them nothing but candy corn because candy corn is trash. You know, I don't know if
Haters.
there's
Haters.
you know, I don't know if this if this whole event that happened this weekend is going to, you know, at a PTA meeting or PTA sponsored event is going to change the game and in California and edibles and stuff like this. But I can see stuff like that happening, and it really, really, really is shitty. So make sure you guys are checking the Halloween candy if you have kids out there. This is still on the parents, and people make mistakes too. And I don't know what's going to happen next after this, but maybe you do. I'm just a dope dad on the streets here, Rico Lamitte for High at Nine News, and I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this, man? Is this going to change the game? It's a PTA event. It wasn't no sketchy Halloween party. It wasn't
Man,
no
this is the kind of
sketchy
PTA meeting.
neighborhood.
This is the kind of PTA meeting I would want to attend.
Exactly.
Yeah, this sounds like a great time.
And my kids are grown.
Yeah.
Right.
But in all seriousness,
crazy.
it's not a joking matter for people to be giving kids cannabis. Not sure how they actually got a hold of this cannabis, but at the same time, you know, parents should be instilling good values into their children as far as not consuming off brands. And so, like, if they shouldn't have
There's
thought
Diva.
they shouldn't have thought that it was a Starburst if it wasn't in a Starburst wrapper. That's my point.
No, real, you know,
Okay.
real talk. That's what it looks like. It looks like a Starburst. It looked
Yeah, that's
nothing
the
like
most.
a
Yeah,
Starburst.
yeah, that's the most BS cop out that I've ever heard. It's total
It
BS.
looks like a Starburst.
It looks like a Starburst. Yeah, it's a square.
So parents don't check their kids' candy anymore. Like we couldn't touch the candy until the candy
Right.
came home and you went through it.
Right.
Back
Yep.
in my day, we weren't worried about weed lace candies. We were worried about razor blades and like
Yeah.
all kinds of
Exactly.
stuff
Razor
like
blades.
that.
Yeah,
But
that was a
I'm
big
just
one.
saying, like we
Right.
came home with our buckets, we poured it all out. Mom and dad went through it, and then we were, got stifled out how much candy we could eat per day, kind of thing.
I used
But
to always look for like needle holes in the packaging too.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Did you ever
sure.
find a needle hole?
I never
It's
have.
like finding
Never.
a needle hole in a haystack.
Needle hole in a haystack.
And a single
That's
in
funny.
each
You know,
individual needle.
Well, the thing to do is for parents to go out and buy a whole shit ton of candy, and then
And all we got was and then Todd.
You got
He froze.
no.
He froze.
censored,
No,
Todd.
Todd went on Mitch McConnell on us.
Todd, you got
Hunter Biden got his internet. Mhm. Oh man.
Todd McConnell.
Todd McConnell, are you back with us, Todd?
oh, there we go.
Yeah, there he is.
On McConnell.
Yeah.
St. Petersburg, Todd.
That's hilarious.
Oh man. You know what?
No, this is this,
Yeah,
no, this
anything's
is
better than that new Speaker of the House. What's his name?
Oh, he's
I
the
gotta Google
man.
him
He's
to
the
figure out
man.
who
Mike
it is.
Johnson. Shout out to Mike
Oh
Johnson.
my
Mike
God.
who?
Yeah, he's got a great
Mike
last
who?
MAGA
name.
Mike.
Yeah, MAGA Mike.
MAGA Mike.
He's got a fantastic
Mike
last name.
who?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, Mike who.
Mike Johnson.
Yeah, I
That's right.
don't know what to do. I don't even know what to do with this information. It's like racking my brain. Like I've been so programmed to think there's gonna be needles, there's gonna be fentanyl in the candy, there's gonna be all this
Yeah.
this and that.
And now we're having to switch it all up and worry about weed candy in our
Yeah.
pillowcases.
This is
Yeah,
just more. This
it's
is
a
just
whole
like
event.
What's that, Saman?
this is going to be commonplace going forward. I mean, it's too easy to like, either get it confused or to mix it up in a lot of senses if you're just like, if you don't have it separated, if you don't have like a good system in your own home. And I mean, someone bringing Kiva gummies to a PTA meeting and giving it away to kids like a school board sponsored thing. That's like a really insane situation. I would expect this more of like from a house in a community rather than people that it's their job to actually pay attention to this stuff and to make sure the kids are safe.
So here's
But
the
also we've said this on this show before. It's really the parents' job to protect their kids. It's not society's job to protect your kids. It's like
well, here's the whole thing.
We're conditioned. We're conditioned to think it's going to be at these parties. We're conditioned it's going to be at people's private residences, and it seems like there's more danger at the school at a PTA event than there would be in a shady ass neighborhood because the parents at those parties they don't want their kids to be they don't want to be that person. This is a supervillain of a PTA, disgruntled PTA official.
This
do you think
is what happens when Antifa takes
nefarious?
over your
Definitely what
PTA
it
meeting.
sounds like.
This is what
Do you
happens.
think it's nefarious?
Yeah, this is what happens when Antifa takes over your PTA meeting, Rico.
There's Antifa.
Mhm.
There's an insurrection.
Yeah.
There's an insurrection that went down at Alameda High
Exactly.
School or
Exactly.
elementary.
But I also wonder, Rico, if Halloween overall needs some type of a rebrand because, after all, the slogan of Halloween is trick or treat.
Yeah.
So
it's more of a trick than a treat.
exactly.
This time, huh?
That's what I'm saying. Someone was tricking off in Alameda County, apparently, at Kiva.
Maybe like, oh, weed gummies. Oh, these kids see worse
Yeah.
every day. They're just weed gummies.
They
for
weren't
kids
the gummies though, Saman. They were the hard shoes, the Lost Farm hard shoes, like the Starburst. That's what the kids got.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I could.
Yeah,
And they're awfully expensive. I don't know who's putting those in the candies in the bowl because
They were
a
like,
couple of bucks.
we're gonna hook these kids up. They're gonna appreciate this.
Well, nobody.
It could have been somebody. It could have been somebody who got laid off.
Well, nobody has them cheaper than Kiva themselves, Todd. Just saying.
That's what I'm saying. So it could have been somebody who got laid off.
Well, they're still a couple of bucks each.
Yeah.
You know.
But oh man,
Or it could have been free at their parties.
that was a fun story. We're gonna go to a commercial and we're gonna be right back. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Those Kivas, bruh.
They need something.
All right. Up next on the at the local West Hollywood's PTA assembly, we have on stage. We have the man known for smoking on the best weed in the world, the longest continuously operating retailer in the game, the firm supporter of Antifa and insurrectionists alike, Jason Beck.
I'm all about fighting for freedom, Rico, and you know that. But I'll tell you what. I have an interesting story for you today. A very, very interesting story today. Here we go. Are you guys ready? Because, it wouldn't be Halloween without a New York story. Because few New York enforcement actions for the illicit market sales have resolved, regulators say. Oh, man. Oh, boy. The vast majority of crackdown efforts by New York's regulators and law enforcement agencies related to illegal marijuana sales have failed to be resolved, officials confirmed on Monday. One potential reason New York regulators have halted administrative hearings where judges can levy fines and other penalties against those selling illicit marijuana products. The shift by the state's Office of Cannabis Management, the OCM, effectively eliminates one path to punishment after raids of unlicensed smoke shops and retail outlets. Through such incursions continue to be initiated, according to the City News website. The OCM attributed the change to a lack of resources, and the agency did not indicate when it planned to restart the administrative trials, the city reported. Of the 300 or so actions that the regulators and law enforcement have taken across the state since June, only 16 have reached some resolution, OCM Executive Director Chris Alexander said on Monday in Albany during a public hearing about the state's floundering cannabis market. That's roughly 6% of all cases. Under newly adopted laws in New York, the state can impose a $10,000 penalty for each day of illegal cannabis sales and a $20,000 per day fine on those selling cannabis after receiving an OCM order to cease operations. It appears those penalties and other enforcement actions have done little to slow illegal marijuana sales. I told you guys this. That's particularly the case in New York City, where officials estimate thousands of unlicensed stores are still operating today. In a quote, "This is a big threat to public health," Alexander told the state Senate on Monday. "We have to open more legal stores and close more illegal ones." Unregulated products from other states have been flooding the New York market, according to the OCM Director of Investigations Enforcement, Daniel Hogany. In a quote, he says, "We're seeing products from out of state," he said during the hearing. "It's not New York licensed locations supplying these stores." New York launched legal adult use sales on December of 29th of 2022, and only 26 licensed adult retailers are operating today in the entire state, well below the market expectations set by Governor Kathy Hochul. And regulators who projected opening 20 stores per month after launching adult use sales, oh man, I guess they all have egg on their face. But the OCM is moving to issue more marijuana business licenses as legal producers face a buildup of unsold inventory in the face of limited legal retail outlets. Not to mention that stuff is all old. The agency declined to comment to MJ Biz Daily on Monday, and instead a spokesperson told MJ Biz Daily to watch the Senate hearing and reference Alexander's comments on the subject matters. So it sounds like the OCM is doing nothing but deflecting as far as comments on this, and I guess they all have egg on their face, and I guess when you have egg in your face, it's tough to give a comment. But nonetheless, this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all think about this?
Also very tough to make an omelet when you have egg on your.
Very, very true. Very, very true, Todd. Yes.
Unless you put your face in the frying pan, find out what.
Yeah, I think New York is just completely fucked up. They just need to wipe everything out and start all over again.
Man,
Chris Alexander, shout out to Chris Alexander, the executive director of OCM. He had a great comment right there, saying they have to open more legal stores and close more illegal ones. That's the quote of the
you
sentence.
think that's
Great
an amazing
idea.
governmental observation right there, Rico. Man, tell you what, that's why they pay him the big bucks for this.
He's an idea man. He
Yeah.
can't stop it.
Man,
Who's gonna fund that?
he must be a Harvard grad.
Man.
Yes.
We should start making those. I did that stickers with Kathy Hochul. I did that. Tried cannabis.
That would be good. That would be good. That
Yeah,
would be
I
good.
think
It's all fun and games and everything. When we make jokes about this and everything, but we called it out in the beginning.
From the
It
jump.
was unrealistic. It was unrealistic from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For everything from Mayor Adams just saying, "Yo, y'all can smoke weed wherever you want."
Yeah.
And then Kathy Hochul
Light up on your
claiming that
porch
they're going
step.
to open. Yeah, Kathy Hochul claiming that they're going to open 20 stores a month, You know, at
We
the
all
jump
knew
there when
we all knew
they had no infrastructure.
we all knew
They had
she was
nothing.
lying through her teeth
They
when
didn't
she
even
said
have
that.
weed.
Broken
They didn't
promises.
even
Yeah,
have
they,
weed then.
Well, they
what
opened them
Well,
all.
no,
Just
no, no.
they didn't give it any
They did have
licenses.
weed because all the weed is like over a year and a half old,
Yeah,
Nicole. So
that's right.
they had weed.
They have plenty of weed. It's just
Plenty of
terrible.
weed is just boof hay that no one would want to smoke and touch in a day.
They got enough
what about
problems in New York with like trying to send the migrants on a one-way ticket to like
Right.
wherever in the world they want to go.
So everybody that had the weed initially were given cultivation licenses initially in the first wave were all hemp growers in the
Yes,
state already.
correct.
And
Yep.
That's
so,
correct.
yeah, obviously it takes a little learning curve for them to get to transfer over from hemp
I don't
into
believe that. It's
cannabis.
all the same plant, Nicole. I'm not buying that.
Of
I'm not
course,
buying that
we know
learning
that
curve
it's
at all.
well, we know that it's the same plant, but when you're growing it to have less THC versus more THC and
Yeah.
different compounds,
I don't
it
I
qualifies.
don't believe that these
That's
growers are that
true.
sophisticated to grow something for more or less THC. These
No,
people
it's
are
true,
specializing
Jason.
in specific strains that produce either
Jason,
higher THC or lower
it's
THC.
not about the growing part. It's about the post-harvest part. It's about the curing and the drying of the product.
Learning
That's
curve for them.
Yeah, so you're not like harvesting for CBD for like smokable flower. A lot of it, most of it's going to extract to be isolated to then be converted into D8
Mm-hmm.
and D9 from CBD. So that's the main difference. That weed that they're growing to sell has to be harvested, dried properly, cured and trimmed properly to make it to that market to reach the level of that market where that product's going to be purchased. That's the difference. It's not that it's a different plant. It's that the whole process of drying it and curing it and smoking that flower takes a lot more energy and effort than to just harvest it and dry it and then put it through an ethanol extraction system to be isolated.
So it has nothing to do with growing it only has something to do with harvesting.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Growing it's going to be the same,
That's all I was trying
You're
to say.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that,
That's all I was
Jason.
trying to say. That's all I
Yeah,
was
you're
trying to
you're right.
say. That's all.
I just want to clarify, because there is a big difference in the smokable hemp that you're buying on the shelves and the cannabis that you're buying that's like super, exclusively taken care of for smoking rather than for extract. And that's just that's the learning curve that Nicole's talking about. And that does take time and takes energy and takes a lot of like messing up before you get it right.
Well, clarity does
Jason
count.
just wanted you to say that he was right.
No, clarity counts. Clarity counts. Ask any diamond broker out there. They'll tell you clarity counts.
Yeah. They're probably just isolating the CBD and then putting it onto the weed, and then they're calling it the snow bud.
I mean, there is a company.
That's what these crazy kids are doing these days.
There is a company that
Yeah.
does that. There is a
Oh
company that
yeah.
does that. I
Oh,
have.
there's a lot of companies. There's a lot of companies doing that, Jason.
Anyone else? Anything else on this New York debacle? Seeing no
Thoughts and prayers out to New York.
thoughts and prayers out
Thoughts
to
and-
New York.
Yeah,
Oh,
thoughts
man.
and prayers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
smoke
exactly.
better weed, you guys. Smoke better weed.
That usually helps.
Yes,
Thoughts and prayers.
but coming up,
Make sure you're smoking. If you are in New York, make sure you're smoking lab tested California branded weed.
oh boy, oh my goodness, you guys, jeez Louise. But coming up next,
What do we got next?
yes, coming up next, she is our purple-haired princess. That's right, it is Miss Nicole Buffong, who is. Why am I not finding this? Oh my goodness. Here we go. She's a patient, a plant medicine advocate, and founder of Purple Plant Magic. She's also on Power 88 Las Vegas every Wednesday morning. It is none other than the Mrs. Nicole Buffong.
And
Well,
the crowd
thank
goes
you.
wild.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I appreciate it. My story today, fam, is coming out of Oklahoma. We saw this coming. Politico today says, quotes, people just can't pay their bills. Oklahoma's wild marijuana market is about to shrivel. We knew this was coming. So it started about a year ago when they passed new legislation. But the world's wildest weed market, which at its peak had nearly 14,000 licensed medical marijuana businesses, has been steadily shrinking since Oklahoma voters overwhelmingly rejected a recreational legalization referendum in March. Heightened enforcement by state regulators and law enforcement is pushing some businesses to shut down. Others are simply realizing that Oklahoma is producing so much weed, a staggering 64 times the volume needed to serve the state's medical patients, according to a recent study, that it's impossible to make any money. At the same time, the potential customer base is shrinking. There are just under 350,000 people enrolled in the medical program, down from a peak of more than 385,000. Oklahoma has become a cautionary tale over the past 5 years for the country's experiment with marijuana legalization. Many of the problems that have plagued fledgling markets across the country are magnified in the staunchly conservative state. The unlikely boom market has been sullied by dozens of raids and illegal cultivation sites, rampant diversion of products like the illicit market into the illicit market, allegations of human trafficking and grisly crimes, including a quadruple murder of Chinese nationals at a weed farm last November. Republican State Representative Scott Fetgetter, we met with him in Oklahoma 2 years ago, who has worked extensively on cannabis policy, said the blowback is so severe among his fellow lawmakers and constituents that he doesn't see any point in introducing legislation seeking to boost the medical market and help struggling business owners. The next big shakeup of the weed industry is poised to land on October 31st. That's when all businesses, there were 10,278 as of October 2nd, must renew their licenses with the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. For the first time since the medical market launched 5 years ago, OBN is requiring that businesses provide proof that they have a valid certificate of occupancy for their facilities. OBN officials say they were spurred to toughen enforcement due to at least 10 fires at marijuana manufacturing facilities since 2021. In one incident, 10,000 acres of land was set ablaze, prompting the mobilization of the National Guard to combat the fire. On 2 different occasions, OBN agents were present when fires ignited at marijuana grow facilities. Even though the requirement to have a certificate of occupancy isn't new, there's widespread agreement that many weed businesses aren't compliant and won't be able to renew their licenses. Many people in the marijuana industry didn't do their due diligence, and they should have known better, Fetgetter said. If you start a business, you should know all the guidelines. There's not a lot of people who are trying to be the Louis Vuitton of the weed industry, Henderson said, another advocate. Most people want to be Walmart. Most people are going for quantity over quality. Many industry officials express optimism that the worst financial struggles are now in the past, with prices starting to inch up in recent months. The expectation is that promising trend will continue as scores of additional businesses collapse in the coming months. I just find this interesting. It was just a matter of time. My experience in Oklahoma, going there to for CannaCon, that was there 2 years ago. My experience was, people were walking around grow facilities without any PPE on, without anything on their feet, touching plants. This is before they had any seed to sale software. They were not using metric. I don't understand how you can have a regulated industry and you can't track where everything goes. It didn't make any sense to me. So I knew that when they denied adult use legalization this year, and that they were going to minimize the amount of licenses by making sure people were in compliance. And they did that when they introduced metric last summer. There were a lot of people that couldn't keep up and be in compliance. And now there's going to be another wave to make sure that it makes sense. You can't have 30 dispensaries on one street and expect to serve patients in that community. You're not serving an adult use market. So we're just going to watch and see how it now implodes on itself. Shout out to all your Oklahoma small operators there. I know it's been a struggle. You've been struggling for a couple of years, but they're on a path to get rid of you. So if you're not in compliance, you don't have the money to stay in business because nobody's buying any product, then we wish you the best of luck. I'm sorry you got wrapped up in this Oklahoma Wild Wild West ideology of it being the, I don't know, new cannabis Toklahoma is what they called it. But this is Nicole Buffong reporting for High Night News. Love to hear what my colleagues think about this story out of Toklahoma.
Toklahoma.
You know what?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
surprised. I'm actually surprised it's taking this long.
Yeah. Same.
Well, hold on. You
Oklahoma's
remember?
been crazy
Hold on. You remember
the
when
beginning.
they were going to put metric in, and then all the cultivators and manufacturers were like, "Hell no, you're not going to use metric.
Yes.
We're not going to use it." They were like
Yes.
really
We
protesting.
don't want to track
it.
this stuff.
Yeah, you guys.
Right.
Yeah, we're not going to. None of us are going to be
Yeah.
ready for this. We're not going to be able to operate like
Yeah,
this.
their argument was that it wasn't fair, that they wanted other options. There wasn't a free market to decide and choose. So, you know, it's look, this is America after all, guys. Don't be so shocked that middle America be taking that stance. But
Oklahoma was New York before New York.
I was out there. I've done a project out there. I
Oklahoma's
understand.
still New York. Right.
And
Yes.
the reality is this occupancy thing is
Dustier.
this occupancy kind of rule that they're gonna get people on is like the black and white kind of, you know, situation, right? It's a lot of people are out in the cut, they're in the woods, they're in the country, they have a, you know, little building they put up there quickly and they can occupy it and do whatever they want, and it's going to take forever for someone to get out there. So you know, when you're in business and you're doing business legally, you have to go through the planning department with the counties, with the cities, with whatever municipality. It sucks, but that's what it takes to get them off your back. So if you haven't already, people out there, you know, get an architect, get some engineers, design some plans, submit them with the cities and municipalities, and go through the process and get yourself right. And hopefully there will be minimal collateral damage.
The thing is, what happened in Oklahoma initially, they said, okay, it's $1,500 to get a license. Sure, people were moving from other states. They quoted a guy in the article from Colorado that was like, saw this as the gold rush, as the green rush. And so, but then they started, then they changed the rules. The OBN changed the rules and said, we're going to now base your licensing fees based on how much you're growing. Not on, okay, every year it's going to be the same fee. They changed it up on a midway and was like, oh, okay, now we're going to charge you based on how much you're growing.
But that's because you grow a 100-acre farm with the same $1,500 license as you could a 10,000 square foot grow. So, you know,
before is what I'm saying. That would have given people more of a reasonable idea of what it was going to be operational in the state of Oklahoma. The greedy politicians and regulators in Oklahoma saw a boom for themselves. How much money did they make by issuing out 14,000 licenses? 14,000? That's more than any other state.
They needed that bread, girl.
I remember when they first came out, we did the math on the first round of licenses that came out, and it looked eerily like a $10 million pet project of some politicians because the amount of licenses that they put out.
And they're complicit, right? They wanted it to be the new Cali, and they wanted it to become this situation. So yeah, I mean, everybody's, you know, this wasn't like a surprise, you know, to even the politicians.
It's been 2 years.
$21 million in just licensing.
Surprises lasted this long before everybody's, oh, it's cratering. I'm like, yo, like it was built like this. It was designed to fail from the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. So sorry, guys, you stepped into the wrong pothole. You stepped into the wrong gold mine.
Yeah.
Guess what? Gold is on. Dried up.
Oh man.
14,000 licenses is just too many. It's just too many. Yeah.
Servicing 250,000 patients. Like 14,000 is too many for New York. Of course, it's too many for Oklahoma.
How many patients did you say, Nicole? Because they have like 350,000, I thought, or like 400,000.
Yeah, that's like 350,000. Yeah.
350.
You're telling me that the entire population of Oklahoma is a patient?
They're all medical patients.
I mean, absolutely.
Oh,
I mean, absolutely. They're all patients. They're definitely.
Yeah, they're all medical patients.
Millions.
Just by going and getting an Oklahoma driver's license automatically entitles you to being a patient in the state of Oklahoma, apparently.
Are you an organ donor? No.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial. Yeah, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Relying on 25 years of commercial hydroponic experience, King Solomon Nutrients has engineered the best liquid and dry fertilizer products for cannabis that preserves the crop, the soil, and the environment. Through relentless passion, research and innovation. King Solomon has developed simplified cannabis crop nutrition you can trust. It was created for farmers, by farmers. Don't mess around, try the crown.
Oh
California.
yeah.
But to be fair,
Hold on, Saman. Hold on. Oh, coming. That's right. Whatever you're doing, make sure you hit that like button. Also, too, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles and stories that we cover on today's show, you can find on our website at www.highat9news.com. Also, one quick note: Happy Halloween.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Ain't no money to be made out in California.
Oh, here we're back. Ricky.
Right.
We're back.
We're back.
Yeah.
Up next, this 15-year industry vet's an award-winning solvent extraction pioneer currently focused on helping menopausal women say hello once again. Y'all know who it is.
Hello.
hello.
And the crowd goes wild.
They go crazy. My dogs are going crazy too. All right, we'll see how long that lasts. All right, today we have a story out of the Midwest, not Oklahoma though. Our other favorite O state, Ohio. This one from the Tribune Chronicle. The marijuana backers outraise opponents. The organization backing the state issue to legalize recreational marijuana for use by adults in Ohio outraised the opposition group by more than a 3-to-1 margin. But the money raised for the issue pales in comparison to what was collected for the abortion rights constitutional amendment, the other state issue on the November 7 ballot. In the pre-general election reporting period, which goes on from June 3rd to October 18th, the Coalition to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, which is backing the recreational marijuana issue, raised $1,186,731.80. Of that amount, the Marijuana Policy Project of Washington, D.C. organization gave $275,000. The Policy Project is the largest organization in the country focused on marijuana policy reform. The coalition collected nearly $800,000 from statewide marijuana companies for those affiliated with those companies in the pre-general period. The coalition also received $152,191 in-kind contributions from Ohio Organization Collaborative, the Ohio Organizing Collaborative, located in Youngstown for employee salaries, contractors, and consultants, and for campaign supplies and literature. The Ohio Organizing Collaborative's mission includes economic justice, criminal justice reform, which includes drug policy reform, and structural democracy reform, according to its website. During the pre-general period, the coalition spent $818,389.23, with $600,378.90 going to a Cambridge Communications LLC of Columbus for digital advertising, consulting, campaign literature, and yard signs. It also paid $60,000 to Battleground Strategies LLC of Columbus for consulting. In its previous report, which included the first 6 months of the year, the coalition raised $2,957,000 with the Marijuana Policy Project giving $1,375,000 giving it away. It spent $3,031,078 during the first half of the year, with $3,006,250 going to Advanced Micro Testing Incorporated of Dallas to collect signatures on petitions to get the issue on the ballot. Neither the coalition nor the opposition group Protect Ohio Workers and Families listed purchasing times for television or radio commercials, which are typically among the highest expense for statewide campaigns. Protect Ohio didn't file a designation of treasurer with the Ohio Secretary of State's office until August 9th. It reported raising $342,900 in the pre-general election period, with $101,000 from the Ohio Manufacturers Association and $100 from Angela Phillips, CEO of Phillips Tubes Group Incorporated in Middletown. Protect Ohio spent $258.77 with $68,000 to Causeway Solutions LLC of Metairie, Louisiana, for data and research services, $47,149 to Majority Strategies of Dallas for public communications, and $33,000 to Castletown Media of Lake Forest Park, Maryland, for video production. In comparison, Ohioans United for Reproductive Rights, the backers of the Abortion Rights Amendment, raised $28,743,897.38 and spent $26,222,260 in pre-general reporting period. Wow, that is a lot of money for abortion rights comparatively. Protect Women Ohio, which opposes the constitutional amendment, raised $9,940,049 and spent $9,100,000 in the pre-general period. The recreational marijuana proposal, known as Issue 2, would allow these adults to buy and possess 2.5 ounces of cannabis and 15 grams of concentrate. They could also grow up to 6 plants individually and no more than 12 in a household with multiple adults. The recreational marijuana proposal in Ohio is an initiative statute and not a constitutional amendment, unlike Issue 1, the abortion rights proposal. That means if Issue 2 passes, the Republican-controlled legislature could make change to it. Recreational marijuana is legal in 23 states in the country. Allowable forms of marijuana to be sold if the issue passes include plants and seeds, extracts, drops, lozenges, oils, tinctures, edibles, patches, smoking or combustible product, vaporization, beverage, pills, capsules, suppositories, oral pouches, oral strips, oral and topical sprays, salves, lotions, and inhales, but I'm sure they meant inhalables. And that is the story. And this was, a lot about more about the money that they were raising and what they were spending it on, which is pretty interesting. But it going to show that people are getting really serious. That is, $800K from the Ohio operators is quite a bit of money for them, I'm sure. Maybe not a ton, but I mean that's quite a bit, and maybe it's gonna affect this vote somehow. So let's see how that goes. But guys, what do you think? I mean, what do you think of these numbers? What do you think of the money in these kinds of campaigns? Do you think it impacts the issue more than it does like an issue like abortion rights, which definitely has a little more of an impact on people and the way they vote? I'd love to hear from you guys.
Well,
I find it interesting that they're comparing the two, the cannabis raise to abortion raising money, right? I mean, are they only doing that because they're the two things on the ballot? Are those the only two things?
I think that is part of the reason why, Todd. I would beg to assume that at least. But $800,000. Do we know how much of this money came from Nick Lachey?
Wow. Yeah.
Because that's the question. I think we need a Freedom of Information Act to find out how much money of this came from Nick Lachey.
I don't know, man.
From the lost 98 degrees money. And big shout out to Nick Lachey. Big shout out to John Boehner and everybody else swagging in Ohio.
Definitely.
Right? Swagging.
Like how realistic is it that this will actually pass versus it getting vetoed because the government just doesn't want it?
Well, I think it's important for it to pass. It's important for it to pass. Ohio's a battleground state. It's a, you know what I mean? It sways a lot of. It's a very, very important state in an electoral college election. I'll just say that.
What's your homeboy JD Pritzker think about this?
You're thinking of JD Vance.
JD,
you're confusing.
whatever.
You got too many
JD
JDs
Vance.
going on up in your head. You know what I mean? I'm JB. Remember that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Ohio. I mean, they have a lot. They have a lot of thinking on this to do. I mean, let's flip the question. Is it good for the operators there, if this changes to adult use,
Yeah.
or should they stay medical for as long as possible?
No, they should
It's
not.
great for the operators.
Yeah,
you know?
they should want to get adult use over there. I would
Sure.
think. You know what I mean? And hopefully it's written in there that they can actually sell eighths now instead of having to sell tenths.
Will Ohio turn into the new
It's-
Oklahoma?
Oh, they're selling
no
tenths?
chance. Yeah, they sell tenths. They're not allowed to sell eighths. They sell it in tenths. So it's like 2.3 grams when you buy it. Yeah.
Right. Weird.
What?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
Nicole,
so
I'm
weird.
not making this
do-
up. This
do
is truth.
Should we
Do
fact
they
check?
honor reciprocity
No.
in Ohio?
No.
They might have medical reciprocity. They might have.
They
some.
don't have no medical reciprocity in Ohio. Stop it.
They might. They
No,
might.
that's zero chance.
Oklahoma does.
Of course Oklahoma does. Oklahoma has everything.
No, there are some.
Oklahoma reciprocity
What
process
do you
though is
mean?
like 2 weeks. It requires like you can't just come in same
You
day.
can't
like,
compare
they're
any
just not gonna
state
honor-
to Oklahoma
Yeah.
because Oklahoma is the loosest state of any loose state in the world. It's looser than New York.
Loosey goosey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
Ohio. Maybe they're striving to become the Midwest, Oklahoma.
The New
Yeah,
York
it
of the
looks like
Midwest.
this abortion amendment
What
and
do you
legal
mean?
marijuana are 2 things on the amendment.
What's that?
to
What's
get
that,
voted on.
Nicole?
That's
My
it looks like the abortion amendment and
Mm-hmm.
legalizing marijuana are the only 2 things on the ballot.
Yeah.
Like that's the only
all
thing that I see.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's all that matters in Ohio. You know, because Michigan is
so.
popping, Illinois is popping, Indiana
And
is.
they all surround
you know,
Ohio. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you get an
Yeah.
abortion,
So-
you should need a joint afterwards, right? Just to relax, forget
And-
about yourself again.
And on that, we're going to go to a
I
commercial.
mean-
We're going to be right back.
I don't know. I can.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're going to smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
trying, but we're trying.
And we're back. And we are going to roll right into Mr. Todd Denkin. He is the founder of, that's right, DigiPath Labs. He's also the creator of the Smuggleverse, which is an online platform for you to smuggle your verse through the NFT zone of digital dank. That's right, it is the voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Beck. I got some science news today out of New Scientist, and the title is Why Cannabis Smells Like Skunk and How That Could Soon Change. Researchers recently identified the chemical source of marijuana's distinctive scent. Finding could help lead to less pungent pot or strains with new flavors. Love it or loathe it, marijuana scent is certainly distinct. Just ask the professional tennis players at the 2023 U.S. Open who voiced discomfort about the pungent pot smell drifting into the outdoor courts from nearby park in Queens. Alexander Zverev described one court to the Associated Press as smelling like Snoop Dogg's living room, like he's ever been to Snoop Dogg's living room. The whiff of weed has become increasingly familiar across much of the U.S. following a wave of state-level legalization. In Santa Barbara County, home to more licensed cannabis growers than any other county in California, residents and business owners have intensified complaints about the associated stench in recent years. What is it that actually gives marijuana its smell? Scientists had long assumed that weed's dominant odors mainly involve naturally occurring chemical compounds called terpenes that also determine the psychoactive and medicinal properties of marijuana. But these form the underlying canvas for a cannabis strain's overall scent rather than providing the most unique and standout smells. Two independent research groups recently discovered a different type of chemical playing the starring role in marijuana's distinctly skunky scent, volatile sulfur compounds known as thiols that contain a molecule called, this is going to be a tough one, called 3-methyl but 2N1YL, also known as 321-MBT. Ian Oswald at Abstracts Tech, a cannabis research and development company in California, said, growers might have this issue of stinking up the town, or if you have some cannabis and you're in an apartment next to your neighbor, they might be able to smell it. It is these thiols, for sure, that are off grassing from the flower itself. Same 321 MBP molecule is responsible for the skunky smell that occurs in beer packaged in clear bottles after it has been exposed to sunlight, says Don Wright at Don Wright and Associates, an odor monitoring and control consultancy in Texas. He also cited the molecule's contribution to the characteristic smell of musky spray from mammalian skunks, which they produce when they are threatened. Wright and his colleagues discovered 321 MBP's role by focusing on the smallest possible group of chemicals that match the odor characteristic of downwind smells for cannabis while still being detectable to the human nose at greater distances. He explained how the molecule was previously overlooked because it exists at very low concentrations compared to other chemicals such as terpenes. Historically, odor problems investigations have looked at the biggest players, the highest concentration compounds, says Wright. But it's the rule rather than the exception that the problems are carried in the very trace level compounds buried in this overwhelming forest. Meanwhile, Oswald and his colleagues performed a more data driven intensive analysis of the many chemical compounds that contribute to the different scent profiles in cannabis. This approach similarly identified 321 MBT as the main culprit behind the straight skunky smell of popular cannabis strains such as OG Kush. And the researchers used an indoor greenhouse experiment to show that the concentrations of volatile sulfur compounds containing 321 MBT increased significantly during the last flowering stage of cannabis plants. But other chemicals present in similarly low concentrations can create different aroma arrangements in cannabis. Oswald's group identified tropical volatile sulfur compounds that combine with the skunky scent to provide a sweeter scent for cannabis strains such as Tangy Mimosa and Papaya Peach. The researchers also highlighted the chemical compound scatol, most infamously found in human feces, as helping to create a savory garlic note for some cannabis strains when mixed with the skunky odor. Many people would probably say they don't like it, says Oswald, but people who consume cannabis are looking for the most potent of whatever the aroma is. Oswald in Abstract Tech hopes to help the cannabis industry use the latest science of smell to selectively breed cannabis strains for specific odor profiles. Growers could potentially breed out the skunkiest odors that are the source of some communities' complaints. Cannabis, says Wright. At Bayer Scientific, an air quality equipment manufacturer and research firm in Indiana, William Vizutes has already helped his company to engineer filtration equipment that captures skunky scents before they leave the site of cannabis farms. As one of Wright's research colleagues, he sees much more work to be done regarding the origins of various cannabis scents. I would be surprised, given the hundreds of strains that are out there, that there would be more molecules out there being emitted that we have not identified yet, says Vizute. I personally like the smell of weed in the morning. It smells like. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News. What do you guys think about this cannabis smell?
Oh yeah,
Man,
Scatol. That's my favorite. Scatol is my favorite new one. Scat,
yeah,
like
Scatol.
animal scat.
You know
Shit.
what? Yeah.
But like, and just cue Scat Man.
I-
I
Right.
like think I like the tropical skunk smell.
What's
I think
that?
that would be my favorite.
Your favorite's the
I think I would like
tropical?
the tropical skunk smell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, okay, so this chemical that is also found and responsible for the smell, does it say like does it burn off at a certain temperature? Like you know what temperature terpenes burn on? Does it fall off like the acid compound does when you cure it for a certain amount of time, or what does
Yeah,
it mention any of
The article doesn't mention that, but I'm sure it does because all compounds burn off, eventually when you're, put a piece of some fire to it, right?
Yeah, well, not
So,
Right.
right. They
I'm sure
effervesce.
that it does have some sort of, known temperature where it goes away, but it's hard to make it go away. I mean, pot smells. I mean, and like I mentioned, I like the smell of pot. It
I
smells
do too.
good to me,
Same.
Yeah,
right?
I like
So
to
it
too.
Especially for as much
smells
as
good
I
to me,
smoke.
and when I
Yeah.
smell it out in the world, like I said, it smells like a victory moment, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Somebody
Yeah,
else is
Yeah.
smoking weed. It's
Exactly.
not me.
Yeah.
And you look around, you're like, what the fuck? And let me get some of that, right?
no.
Right.
To answer your question, Nicole, yes, styles definitely have a boiling point, and they're generally like pretty low, like
So
under.
I think it's interesting. 321 MBT is the chemical compound that is overtaking very rich terpenes. Who knew?
Wow. Wow.
Wow, wow,
Amazing.
wow,
You find out
wow,
something new
wow.
about this plant all the time, and it just blows your mind. I mean, and now I want to know, what are the medical and therapeutic effects of these compounds? Like, how do they contribute
Well,
to
I think
how
we
it
already
makes you
know that.
feel?
I think we already know
Well,
that,
we
Nicole.
don't know that
We just know
yet.
what to call
Yeah,
it, though.
this
We know that. We
right.
definitely have an idea of
Great.
that. And that's part of the whole composition of like the entourage, right? So the terpenes are not just terpenes, they're all of these flavorants as well, and all these esters and phenolic acids and things like that. So they all are part of that categorization of the cannabinoid cultivar, right? Because there's terpenes and cannabinoids that will make up this gradient of each of these different types of cannabis, and that's how we're identifying them is through the chemicals. And so this is just looking deeper. So imagine we just have a really magnified lens now to look deeper into those really already small components of this plant that make up this big composition. So you're like, you now have a two-dimensional view instead of a one-dimensional view. And that's where we're getting the data from. That's coming from instrumentation, as Todd knows very well. This is done through tandem mass spectrometry. So like they have a liquid chromatograph that's being like analyzed through this mass spec, and it's has another mass spec attached to it. So you're not getting just the really fine peaks of all of this information coming through the data, but you're getting the depth of those things to see how deep they go and how much of an impact they have on that experience. So this is cool stuff. I mean, Abstracts is doing cool stuff with the science. They've been doing it for a few years now and really have like, analyzed, many of these cultivars. But, you know, I think that what's interesting about what this article is talking about is how they're going to be able to mitigate those things in the future for like olfactory, like if you have a problem with odor abatement in your city and you can't certain cannabinoids that you're growing, well, you can analyze those plants and those cultivars now and see what has the nuisance kind of effect, and you don't have to grow those strains, or that could be a thing. And that's an interesting part of this because the implications coming down the line are, they could potentially include like certain strains you can and can't grow in certain municipalities. So I mean, there's problems with that everywhere. We'll see how that affects, policy.
And,
Interesting.
and
Yeah.
speaking of this sweet, sweet, skunky smell, which I personally love, and I don't understand why they would even want to get rid of it. But
I know, right?
yeah, it's crazy to me, but whatever.
Agreed.
Whatever. I don't understand this new generation a lot anyway, but who cares? Because
A typical flower has, usually less than 2 or 3% terpenes, and it's interesting though how this little tiny itty bitty molecule is even smaller than that and causes that skunky smell.
and now we know what to call it. Thank you so much for that, Todd.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I'm going to tell you, speaking of this sweet, skunky smell, all right, I'm going to tell you where to party this Halloween. Okay, are you guys ready for this? Despite,
Ready.
or maybe because of the woes of the world right now, the need to escape this Halloween is palatable. Becoming someone else with an outlandish, sexy, or scary costume and drinking, dancing, and smoking and prancing with other LA creatures of the night is what it's all about. Halloween 2023 has a lot to choose from, too, With the holiday on a Tuesday this year, the mayhem begins now. And for a read, this is out of Los Angeles Magazine. And so, the biggest street rager in town is back. After a 3-year hiatus, Santa Monica Boulevard is once again closed off the city's Halloween Carnival. It's free to attend and will take place from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on a 1-mile stretch between North Doheny Drive and North La Cienega Boulevard. There will be a stage at the intersection of Santa Monica Boulevard and San Vicente Boulevard with live DJs, food trucks, and, of course, some of the city's most creative and outlandish costumes you'll see anywhere. It's also going to be the highest Halloween ever in the area, as the first licensed cannabis experience takes place in the Emerald Village, the area near West Hollywood's dispensaries and the Artistry's Consumption Lounge and other consumption lounges in West Hollywood. Brings you the Harvest Hunt. Runs from 6 p.m. to midnight, taking over a block adjacent to the main carnival. Cannabis, cocktails, munchies, and more. A drag show hosted by Jasmine Masters of RuPaul's Drag Race, and much more scheduled for the 21-plus event. And this is the first time the city of West Hollywood has ever invited the cannabis industry to participate. We received our permit late last night, and this is going to be one hell of a jam. And High at 9 News is going to bring it to you live with a live New Year's Eve style commentary show of the drag queen performance and the costume contest, all within the cannabis area in the Emerald Village tonight, Halloween 2023. Be there or be square.
Make sure you keep the kids away from the, from the entertainers.
Well, I'm worried because Kiva is going to be there.
Right. Oh, with drag show folks there and Kiva there. Oh, don't bring your kids.
It is going to be a doozy, that's for sure. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. Hope to see everyone there, and no matter where you are, make sure you have a safe and sane Halloween and all of that good stuff. But thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience, supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you to you, Saman, Todd, Rico, and Nicole, for coming on and joining us today. And thank you all for tuning in. It is America's #1 daily cannabis news show, High at 9 News.